Hello everyone, my name is Gurdeep Singh and my teammate Akashdeep Kaur. So our presentation is about the penetration testing of the one of the biggest institute of India related to the education, Akal Academy Mandir. So we have done the presentation uh, on the vulnerabilities that we have found in this website of their institute. So here is the table that we will be discussing in this whole presentation. So first we will talk about the executive summary of the institute, and then we will discuss about the tools that we have used. There are different type of lot of tools, and then we will go for the information gathering. We have done two type of information gathering, passive and active. Then we will move forward to the vulnerability analysis. Then we will discuss all the vulnerabilities in detail, and at the final we will go for the conclusion of the whole presentation. So let's get started. First thing about the executive summary of this thing. So Akal Academy Madeira is the biggest Sikh institute in India with over 550,000 students and 150 branches in all over India, and they have the evaluation of almost 12 billion US dollars, and it has many domain names and a lot of websites on their names. And they also have their own web applications and mobile applications for all type of platforms from Android to Apple Play Store. Akal Academy allows students to learn online from many platforms, which include the online classes from the web-based platforms. Akal Academy has a lot of potentials for their students, and they are allowing from engineering to medical science. So moving forward, so this is the risk chart that we have. So if we talk about here, so we have find the vulnerabilities data from high to low. What in this chart we are discussing, from the top of the red one is the extreme vulnerabilities that we will find in this, and we will go from high, medium to low. And going, so the tools used. So the first one tool that we used was Google Dorking. So as we know, the Google is the database of the information all over around the world. As a ethical hacker, using the Google Dorking make it very easy for the passive information gathering, and we do it every time we use for any information gathering for any penetration testing. DNS lookup is used to find the domain names of the website, their IP address, and other things. Then we use the Whois. Who is the one of the biggest tools that give the information related to the all of the website, like their domain name, IP address, from where they are registered, the phone numbers, the location, and everything. Then we will go for the Metasploit. We use Metasploit instead of Nmap. With the Metasploit, we find all the ports that were open, and with that we use crawler and the WMap to exploit inside the website. After this, we use the second thing, that was the OWSAP Zap. With this, we exploited the vulnerabilities and explained it further. We also pinged the website with different type of mm, address, and we got the IP address of the website. Uh, we will go for the information gathering. So we did the two type of information gathering. First one is a passive information gathering and active information gathering. As we know, the passive information gathering is the open source information gathering that we have collected from different places like Google Dorking, DNS and Lookup, and Whois. From Google Dorking, we got the database and the address, phone numbers of the website through which we can also conduct the social engineering, but we go directly for the exploitation. With DNS lookup, we got the IP address and the site information from there. With Whois, we got every needed thing from the website. In the active information, we ping the website to get the information from them. With this, the server knows that somebody is trying to ping us, and we use Metasploit, ping, and Nmap for this also. And instead of Nmap, we also use WMap for the passive information. So here's the one of the screenshot related to the Whois. Here we got the domain name and their registered registration and that time it is registered on and expires on. updated, last update, status, and some other domains. So we got the enough information from here to conduct the port scanning test. And moving forward, this is the active information. After gathering the passive information and footprinting, we go for the active information, and it is done with the uh, Metasploit crawler. And here we can see that we got many things that are exploitable, like HTTP password, HTTP username, R host, R port, SSL, URL, vhost, and we try to exploit all of these. Moving forward from this, we now we will talk about the main phase of this, analyzing the vulnerabilities. So we use two different tools, Metasploit and OWASP app. So Metasploit is the rapid cyber based tool. It is mainly used for vulnerability analysis and exploitation of the software or any website. It has main two parts that we use. The first one was the crawler and second one was the WMAP. So here we used to set the R host and send the request to the server, and then we exploit that server. Second one is OWASP app. We will discuss it in next. After completing the whole process, so we wanted to get the vulnerabilities. So first we set the target after completing the whole process and sending all the requests to the server. And after this, we get the list of vulnerabilities. So the command we used for wweb on vulns and this gave us all the list of vulnerabilities, 8 vulnerabilities that were open here. But it was not defined here that what type of vulnerabilities it was. But it was showing that there were a lot of vulnerabilities which include mailman, secure control panel, webmail, WP includes. So for the further information, we have to go for the other tool that we know as OSWAP. And here, this is the example of the one of the website in which the risk is low, but this is the vulnerability related to JavaScript source, and it is the insecure design vulnerability. It is on the low, but this is the vulnerability that we got from with the help of Zap. And now we will discuss the vulnerabilities one by one. So we will go with the first vulnerability. This vulnerability is the software and data integration failure. This is in the top 10 OWASP web application vulnerabilities. And for this, there are many reasons of this vulnerability. First one is the compatibility issue. It is the when different system or application use incompatible data format, it can result in integration failure, and it can be difficult to integrate the data between them. So the second one is configuration issue. When there are no standard guidelines or protocols for the data integration, it can lead to confusion and error. Each application or the system may have its own formatting and processing data, which can make it challenging to integrate the information. Third is data format issue. Data format issues such as missing or inaccurate data can lead to the integration failure. If the data being interrogated is not complete or correct, it can lead to errors. Third one is the security issue. Security concerns such as unauthorized access, data breaches, and malware attacks can lead to this issue. It is essential to ensure that the integration process is secure and the data is protected from the potential threats. To resolve this type of errors, it is essential to have well-designed integration plan, data clear communication team, and testing and monitoring of the integration process. Now moving forward to this. So this is the second vulnerability. We call it side server request forgery. It is the medium vulnerability, risk vulnerability. The first one we discussed was the high risk vulnerability that was on the risk, and for this it is because of the CRSF token is absent in here. It is the side server request forgery. It is the type of security vulnerability that allows an attacker to send unauthorized request from the vulnerable server to the internal and external servers. About this more, this vulnerability can occur when a web application allows users to specify the URL of resources of the application will access. If the application does not properly validate this input, the attacker can manipulate the input and send the request to the different server than intended. And to prevent this, it is important to implement proper input validation and sanitize techniques in the web application code. It includes validating the user input to ensure that it is the valid URL and checking that the URL points to the allowed destination. Moving forward to vulnerability and last of this presentation, it is the one of the most dangerous vulnerability. It is the Insquare vulnerability, but for this website it is the risk medium, and it is the vulnerable JS library. For this vulnerability, as we it here, it is the lack of input validation and insecure authentication. Insecure web application can result in a variety of security vulnerabilities. Like input validation is the process of checking user input for validity, such as ensuring that only expected characters are present. And insecure authentication mechanism can allow attackers to bypass login, gain unauthorized access, and steal sensitive data. Like in this website, there was a lot of the data that was related to the education for every student, and their cards were also there. For the further, we have to talk about the prevention of this thing. To prevent this thing, it is important to implement a security focused design approach during the development process. This includes performing threat modeling and risk assessment to identify potential vulnerabilities and implementing security controls to mitigate them. In conclusion, we give the institute the detailed report of